There we are. Now we begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Epique Circle. Today, our special guest is Mr. Rob Tucker. And I'm actually going to give the mic over to Mr. 𝘍𝙬𝙤𝙦 to do the grand introduction. Mr. 𝘍𝙬𝙤𝙦, you like to do that?
Well, I certainly put me on the spot. So I had the pleasure of meeting Rob for the first time just a few weeks ago. And this guy is a wealth of knowledge. He has been in the trenches, in the game for a long time. He's got, which I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he's got some pretty interesting lineage as far as what he's accomplished with other brands. And he's got a really great program, Rockstar Agent, we're going to dive in today, that's incredibly intriguing. And so Rob is one of these guys that is just great to be around. The energy is always super high. The knowledge base is second to none. And when I heard, actually, he was brought on by one of our good friends, Angela, in Georgia, and she was telling me all about him, and he sounded pretty cool. And I'm like, this guy, I don't know if he can be everything I've just heard he is. And so we had a chance to get coffee in Asheville not too long ago. And I got to tell you guys, he fit the bill. He was exactly what was sold, exactly what I was expecting. And so today we have a really great conversation. We're going to dive in and hear a little bit about Mr. Rob Tucker. Rob, tell us a little bit about where you're at business-wise as far as location. And I understand you've got a big move coming up.
Oh, yes. Yeah. We decided on the spur of the moment because I saw tears in my wife's eyes. And when we went to the beach in Savannah, Georgia, and I said, we've got to move, right? And she looked at me and said, yes, we do. She's on the screen, by the way. So, and it's a good thing because, hey, it gave me the opportunity to come in here, do an area leader position in Savannah and help build that out, which you have no idea how excited I am about doing that and helping this. It's going to be fun.
Well, let's dive right into it, man. I mean, So tell us a little bit about what you got going on with Rockstar Agent and really how we got started with all that.
You got it. Well, I'll tell you, the first rendition of this actually started in about 2005. Because I built my first team. We did about $60 million in our third year, and then opened multiple franchises for a very large franchisor. I don't know if we can mention names in there, but I don't know, KW. Anyway, first agent in Charlotte, North Carolina for KW. So owned the first 3 offices and market centers there, but started my second team. And I said, okay, I want everybody to do exactly what I'm doing. But Charles J., I was a crappy leader at that time. I mean, I had zero patience for anybody. It's like, so, all right, how can I do that? Well, I'm gonna put a bunch of videos on an HTML website and have them just, access it like that. And they should be able to do exactly what I do, right?
Right.
Yeah. You want to talk about a burnout rate? I mean, it was this revolving door. And that led to kind of looking at the industry a little bit and saying, what's missing? Because in all reality, there are so many conferences. There are so many coaches that come up in the industry. There are so many seminars and things like that we've all been to. And we go to the ability to find knowledge in this industry is easy. And now in today's world with social media and YouTube and all of that, you can go find out how to do an open house. You can go find out how to do calls and expireds and, all of these different things. And so the question to me became, why is this not working? Right? Why? I mean, it worked for me. Why didn't it work for anybody else? And so we went back and I started looking and really evaluating who was succeeding and how they were succeeding. Right? And we came in and we said, all right, this person's doing it like this, but this person's succeeding over here. All of them are different. And then a light bulb went out. And I said, or it actually came on, it was off before. And, the light bulb came on and I went, I'm seeing something that's similar. And let me give you this. So, all right, Charles, Jay, everybody on here, how many of you have been to a workshop or somebody teaching how to do some aspect of lead generation in real estate? Anybody besides me? Okay, good. All right. So here's the question. Did it make sense when they were up there on stage talking about whatever it was they were doing? Some yes, some no, right? So think about this. If you walk into any room and you've got somebody, as a matter of fact, I was in this big conference about 6 months ago, and 𝘎𝙁Moussa was on stage. You might know who that is, by the way?
We do.
Yeah, big HGT. Okay, all right. So he was on stage and he was telling about how he got started. Anybody ever heard this story? Do you know how he got started? So when he started in real estate, he did expired listings. So think about that. Okay, we all know that expired listings work, right? How many of you will actually do it? See, now you get into the question of this piece of it, right? So in that conference, there were about 4,000 people in the room. And he was up there and he's doing his thing. And, we're talking about star power when you go up there on stage, right? And so he'd get to this place and all of a sudden you'd have about 10% of the audience clapping and doing this thing. And the rest of them are sitting back there like this. I'm going, yeah, so it's accurate. So when I asked the question, I said, does every form of lead generation work? What would you guys say? Oh, I see people doing this, I see this, and I see some of you going, I'm
Maybe
scared.
depends on the application.
Yeah, right. Well, let me ask it a different way. Does every form, Rebecca, does every form of lead generation work for every person? See, there's the difference, right? So in that, if you've got, and let's take it by DISC test, DISC. Everybody done a DISC test? All right. Okay. Has anybody not done a DISC test? Anybody know the difference? Oh, okay. So let me give you the quick DISC test thing. So you'll know whichever, and you'll get this. So you have a D, an I, an S, and a C walk into an elevator. The D is the one pushing the elevator door to try to get it to close before everybody gets on. Doesn't matter if anybody comes halfway and gets cut in half. They don't care. They want to get to the top, right? So the I is the one standing in the middle of the elevator, already knows everybody's name, kind of holding court and making sure everybody's having fun. Anybody? Okay, you're seeing. The S has their arm around the door, trying to make sure that the person late is going to get there safely. You can imagine what the D's looking like right now, right?
We're freaking out.
Yeah, exactly. And the C's sitting back in the corner of the elevator, evaluating everybody's weight in coordination with the capacity of the elevator to see if it's going to get to the top or they're going to die. All right. So you got a D, an I, an S, and a C. So you think about those are completely different personalities. But what I never have seen at any kind of conference is somebody walking up on stage and saying, I am a D and I do cold calling. I do expired listings. For the rest of you, y'all need to go to the other room because you're not going to do this. Like, right? Because you think about that, and there are about 20%, 25% of each one. And so we looked at that and we said, how do we make this so that we can help more agents become successful? And it began with starting with who they are, not trying to put them into a box, not trying to fit into somebody else's mold and what they worked for them, because it may or may not be accurate. So we started giving all of our agents DISC tests. And then we went through and we said, okay, what matches the D? What matches the I? What matches the S? What matches the C? And then we did a custom path based on that and their experience level, right? Because there's something that's different between a new agent and a $10 million producer. So when you did that, Charles J., what we saw is we saw a 3 to 8 times increase in production over a 12-month period across the board. Think about that.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason was because they enjoyed doing what they were doing. It wasn't a struggle. They weren't, you think about, for all of those that are S's and C's, you guys are not going to pick up the phone and call the expireds. Let's be honest, right? I mean, it's just not going to happen. But a D does not have the patience to go in and be in a group of people in a networking event, at least not for a long period of time, because then after about 30 minutes, they want to go hide in the corner, right? Hey, Charles. Yeah, right. Okay. I mean, that's kind of the reality of it. So when we did that, it was amazing to see the difference of how that worked and what happened with the agents. And it just, you like it, you do it, right? Kind of interesting. Yeah. So that was the start of it. And then it's just progressed since then tremendously.
Well, wonderful. Did now I think Jay had mentioned, did you have some visual that you wanted to share with us today and walk us through a couple things?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do it, man.
All right. So let me give you this. So here's what we built for this. So this is what every agent sees. You guys see it okay?
Yep, you see it.
So you log into the platform And every agent has to complete 3 things. 1, the DISC test. So we built that in. It's not an API. We actually built it in, so it's included, right? You can do it as many times as you want. You've got to set your personal goals, and then you have to set your experience level. Once you do that, then it takes you and unlocks your dashboard. And that looks like this. Okay. So if you look at this, here's what you're seeing. Did that change? New dashboard?
Yeah, we're good.
Now?
We follow. We see it.
Perfect. Good. So here's what it does. And this goes into the other piece of this process too. You know, in real estate, we have a tendency to ask questions in a leadership role of how many buyers are you working with? How many sellers are you working with? How many, appointments have you got, right? So you think about the agent that is maybe brand new to the industry or struggling or plateaued or just wants to take it to the next level, right? And then you look at that and you say, okay, how many times can you say 0 before your mindset shifts and you start, getting a little depressed, right? But especially for those agents that don't have one every single week. But we ask that question. So instead, I took that piece of the personality profile and then matched it with a athletic mentality. So you think about this. How many people have had or been a competitive athlete? Jay, Charles, I know you have, right? I mean, gyms, all that kind of stuff. A lot have.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Right? Every day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So you think about an athlete and you think about somebody that's in sports. They have a match or a meet or a competition maybe once a week, right? The other 6 days of the week, are they sitting on their butt? No. What they're doing is they're doing the activities to get better in preparation for the actual event, right? And so we changed what we evaluate and we look at it on an activity basis, not an end result. So we do the lead indicators, not the lag indicators. And we turn that into an actual number based specifically on their goals. So an agent comes in, they set their goals. So 1, they've got their DISC test, so they know what they are, DISC. Now they've got their actual goal. I want to net $100,000. That turns into a specific activity goal that they complete on a weekly basis. And once they concentrate on that, it now turns the activities into habits, which lead to the results. And we can predict the results based on how they're doing with the activities. So as let's say this one, for example, this one's set at $100,000 for a net income, right? And so you look at that. So if an agent will hit 212 points and you get various weighted points for the base activities, real estate conversations, hosting an open house, making calls, you can get the points in any way you want to. Every single time somebody has done this and hit their points for 12 months, they've either met or exceeded their income goal because they're concentrating on the points, not the end result. They're concentrating on the day-to-day activities on a consistent basis to get to that lag indicator. That makes sense? Right? So you look at that and then they can see I've got 99 points. My goal is 212. But then here's the other piece of this too. You can also see the courses and the activities. So if I'm a D personality, I've got my playlists and my experience level based on what I filled out and based on the results of where I am in my personality profile. So it's all customized for an agent based on their DISC test, their personality profile, and their experience level and their goals, right? So I can search by DISC. All of the courses are in there. The metrics are interesting. And this is where it comes into, if you notice, there are tons of courses. There's progress, there's engagement details, there's action items, there's notes. This is for the coaching aspect of this platform. Because let's think about this, how about as an area leader, right? Imagine this as an area leader that can go in and they can see the action items, they can take notes, they can look at all of the different aspects of what each agent is doing and actually meet and help them where they are, right? See the progress, see the goals, see the details, all of that. And then we ended up gamifying it and putting badges and awards for achieving certain things. So it makes it fun again, right? So it is what we have seen is that this gets a result for each agent based on who they are, where they want to go, and meeting them in the process to customize a process for them. They don't have to fit into any kind of box. They're in their own. How's that?
It's good stuff, man. Like what kind of activities and all are you, I mean, does the system like recommend the activities, or I mean, are they kind of putting their own? How does one kind
Uh,
of figure out what they need to be doing?
so it gives you the activity goal, right? But here's what's interesting about it. Let's look at the actual activities. If you look at the activities, they're base activities, right? So appointments that are set, those have got the big points. Notice the weighted points that are over here, right? Everybody can do attempted phone calls. Everybody can do real estate conversations. Everybody can do all of these different things. So you can also pick and choose any of the activities regardless of what your lead generation source is. So if you have an open house, you've got open house points, but you've also got real estate conversations. You've also got handwritten note cards. You've also got all of the other things that goes along with doing an open house. But on the other end of that, if you're doing expired calls, then you've got appointments, you've got calls attempted, you've got real estate conversations. Again, you've got all of these different things, but they're all base activities that every agent should be doing in a consistent manner. And you can pick, you don't have to use all of them. You pick the ones that fit your lead generation, right? Which that makes it so that everybody can actually look at it and have a little bit of fun. Because if you go back to the dashboard, then all of a sudden you've got a team ranking and you can have a little competition with your team and whoever's in your area if you want to as well. So now you've got everybody's doing whatever their variation of the activities that fit their lead generation source. And guys, here's the piece of this, dude. We've also seen that we seem to get distracted in real estate. And what I mean by that is, how many of you have ever been told that one lead generation source leads to every 10 million in sales? Anybody ever heard that before?
Yeah.
Ooh, right.
Yeah.
Everybody's going, wait, I see Rebecca's going, wait a minute, hold on. How's that work? I saw, yeah, I saw that look on your face, right down there. Right. So think about this though. Let's say that you pick a lead generation source. Let's say that you come in and you've got somebody that is doing 5 different types of lead generation, and you have somebody that's doing one. And let's take open houses as the one, just as an example. Right? Let's say you commit to 6 months of doing an open house, and then you decide you're going to do, this other person is doing their 5 different forms of lead generation. So week 1, you have the person doing the open house. Did they do it well? No. Were they comfortable at it? No. Did they get anybody walking through it? Maybe, maybe not. Did they know what to say? Maybe, maybe not. That's okay. Great experience level. The person that's doing all 5 of them, well, they didn't get a result on the actual expired listings that they're called. So now they go to the next one, which is let's do door knocking. So that one didn't work. They didn't get anybody the first time on that. So we go to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. Does this sound familiar to anybody? Right? Because we want to try them all and see what works for us and hope to find the right thing. But here's the challenge with that. Week number 2, the person doing the open house, did they get a little bit better at it? Did they get a little bit more comfortable with the conversations that they're having? Did they have a little bit more people that are walking through? Week number 2 over here doing the 5 things, they probably already dropped out of one of them and added another one. So now they forgot this one, but maybe they're not getting quite as good. You guys see where this is going, right? It's kind of like an Olympic athlete. How many Olympic athletes actually do more than one event? Right. See, now you're seeing that, right? And here's what I'm going to take this off of this for just a second. So you think about that process, and let's go back to the athletic piece of this. If we treat real estate like an athlete does, and we work on mastering our craft on a daily basis, and you are concentrating on that one thing. Let's take an Olympic athlete, just as an extreme example. An Olympic, and by the way, for those who don't know, my daughter is a Tokyo silver medalist and also heading to Paris. So she will be a 2-time Olympian, right? Which is kind of cool because I've had the opportunity to watch this process, right? So an Olympic athlete trains for 4 years for one event for 30 minutes. 4 years to do one event that lasts 30 minutes. If we do the same thing and take it into the real estate world, and let's say we're going to concentrate on one thing, by the time you get to month number 2, how much better are you at that one thing? You've got the scripts, you've got the comfort level, you've got the activities down, you've got the presentation piece, you've got the all of the different parts of it, you are now getting progressively better in 30 days. Imagine 60 days. So instead of skipping around and doing all things, by the time you get to 6 months, you're closing $2 million a month just doing one thing because of how good you've gotten. Treat it like an athlete. So that's why I say that. One lead generation source for every $10 million. If you will master it, master the craft, just like an Olympic athlete does, guys, you'll dominate this business. And your life will be a whole lot simpler. Jay, simpler, right?
Love it.
I love that, man, because it's so many times in this industry we try to be like the jack of all trades, right? Because most of us do general practitioners, we're general real estate, but I love that advice because we dabble in this lead pond, we dabble in this thing, maybe we work our sphere for a hot minute, but I love that. So intentional effort into one thing before we move on to the next, master one before diving into another. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Well, you think about this too. You know, if we, you know, there are 5 habits that an Olympian has, by the way, right? That leads to an Olympic aspect. The first one and the most important one is practice. They practice, right? How much do we practice? They're practicing for 4 years to do one event that lasts 30 minutes. How much are we practicing in this industry to do our listing presentations, our buyer presentations, how to show a house effectively, how to write and negotiate an agreement, you know, how to negotiate that new buyer agreement that we all have to have, and, you know, all of that, right? Are we practicing those? So you think about it, let's say that month number 1, you take the very basic, and that's the lead conversion conversation, and you practice that for 30 minutes a day for 1 month. Do you think that your lead conversion ratio will get better? Oh my gosh, it'll be huge. But then maybe the next month, because here's the next step of that. We need to practice our listing presentation and buyer presentation. So let's go practice that for 30 minutes a day for this next month. Do you think we're going to get better at that? Do you think we're going to get more capable? We're going to learn what to say, how to say it, how to lead, how to get the right? Maybe the next month after that, it's how to show a house, right? For 30 minutes a day. But then you add the next piece is knowledge. So you think about all of these, and I got to watch my daughter, you know, before she got to the Olympics, she would download videos of the previous Olympics and the finals and the match, and she would go through a practice exactly mimicking the commands, what the people were doing, and she would do that day by day by day, right? So she practices those things and they get better, but it's increasing the knowledge piece of it, because it's not only, you know, especially with all the new rulings, right? Do we have the knowledge to be able to explain to a buyer or a seller why they need to do certain things and participate in all of the activities, right? But if we don't have that knowledge to do it, what's the biggest challenge for so many agents? Oh, I'm scared of certain questions. Well, if you've got the knowledge, 1, you probably won't even get the question, but 2, you're not scared of the question. So when we practice the skills, right, and break them down piece by piece, and then we increase our knowledge, now you got 2 parts of the opportunity, right? Yeah. But do we do that?
No, so one of the, I saw a question in the thread about, you know, or not a question, more of a statement. It's more about finding that singular thing to put your time into. Like, what's that thing? And
Yes.
So what kind of advice would you have to agents that are maybe trying to figure out what that one thing is?
Okay. So first thing, here's like the process that we go through. We do the DISC test because it's got to start with there, right? And then we've got a list. And by the way, I'll send this to you guys and you guys can post it, right? Because it's got all of the lead generation sources broken out by which personality profile they fit.
Love it.
Love that.
Right. And then from there, pick one, right? Pick one that just gets you. All right, I'm gonna get excited about that one. Okay, I can see myself doing that one. All right, let's go. You know, if it's open houses, it's great. If it's expired listings, it's great. If it's whatever it is, there's another caveat to that though, right? Because there are 2 different types of lead generation. There's a 90-day or less lead generation, and there's a 90-day or more. If you need checks in your pocket and cash, pick a 90-day or less. right? By the way, farming is not a 90-day or less. The sphere of influence can be if you are doing it correctly, right? And it's probably a 90-day or more. So you look at the definition, which one, how do you tell the difference? It's easy. Which one do you get face-to-face with? Who do you get face-to-face with in a quick period of time? Open houses, right? By the way, everybody on here should be doing open houses. Oh my gosh, come on. It's that time of year, right? Go get, because you got people that are 30, 60, 90 days away from buying or selling right now looking. That's where they're walking into. Second thing, home shows, right? You get home shows that are doing it. Expired listings, right? But notice these are different personality profile ones as well. So you find the ones that you know are low-hanging fruit, so to speak, that you know that are buying. This is FSBOs, right? You know that they're either buying or selling, depending on what those are. Pick one of those, because once you do that and have cash in your pocket, then you can add one of the 90-day or longer ones, right? The sphere of influence thing, the thing that takes the money to send out cards, touches, things like that. So that's the starting point. Find the piece with the disc test and then pick what 90-day or less on that. Start with that one, but commit to doing it for no less than 6 months. That's hard in today's world, right? We want that instant gratification.
Instant gratification, absolutely.
Yes. Yep. So, and just take yourself back to the Olympian. Oh my gosh, the Olympics just finished. Think about August of this year. Well, once August of this year happens, a few months from now, the Olympians are 4 years away from their next match, but they're training just as hard right now to get there.
Jessica, who we know was out selling. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I'm just saying I love that the whole 90 days before, 90 days after.
Yeah,
that's like so perfectly out. I mean, it was just so perfectly said. It could not be any simpler. And you're right, simple is it. I love it.
Yeah. So Jessica asked the question, do you think, because I know we've taken many of us have taken the disc assessments, which by the way, I am super high D, super high I, 0 S, 0 C, right?
I would have never known that. Really?
Yeah, shocker. But Jessica asked, do you think that there's a need to retake that every few years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you change, life changes. Right. I mean, great question. And it does. You depending on where you are and what stage in your life you are. I mean, if you've got kids in the house, you're going to be a different personality when they move out.
I hope so.
Ask Jamie, she'll tell you. Right. It is think about it. But then you also have a different personality when they're toddlers and then when they're teenagers. Yeah, think about that. Right. I mean, or then when you don't have them and when you do. So yes, absolutely. I would take it. I like to take it every year because there's been a difference.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember the first time I did it, it was actually, I took it, y'all are going to laugh. This tells you how old. I took it with Gary Keller and he said, dude, you are the most flaming D I've ever seen. Like way up here.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the elevator. Like, let's get this show on the road.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're looking at that. You're looking at the S that's holding the door open, and your eyes. You got that look on your face. It's like,
clearly you don't have anything to do today.
Oh, I'm actually kind of thinking and laughing right now because I think all of us here should probably take this real evaluation probably on Monday and then try again on Friday. See what that looks like.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you understand yourself. But let me give you another piece of this too. If you look at buyers and sellers that are out there, right? Well, they're different personalities too. So if you are aware and you can practice and increase your knowledge on a disc test and who is what, right? You now can model and mirror and match other people's personalities. Because if you think about it, if you've got that, all right, so we got Charles up here at the height, he's pressing the button, and then you've got the S trying to do that. Well, could be the difference between getting a client and not, right? Because your clients aren't necessarily like you. You want them to like you, but they're not like you. Make sense? But if we know how to model, mirror, match the other personalities, with tone of voice, with speech patterns, with speed of voice, with the way that we stand versus the way that we carry ourselves. Man, you want to watch what happens in your life when it comes to building relationships. Think about your spouse. Are you and your spouse the same? No, right? Do you change how you do things when you're talking and working with your spouse? How about your kids? Are your kids the same? You want to talk about life-changing pieces to learn? Guys, this is stuff that will change your life and change your relationships. Because when you can do this and you can, all of a sudden now you learn and you understand. I wish I'd known this, by the way, when my kids were teenagers, right? I mean, I did, but my patience, yeah, anyway. But imagine the difference in when you know that, all right, my child is an S, but I'm a D. I can't do this. They're not going to respond in the correct way. But if I slow down and slow and listen and make them feel safe, i.e. an S, right? Then all of a sudden now they're seeing it my way, or maybe I see it theirs.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Was anybody have any questions for Rob about this, the mindset on how we kind of attach activity to our disc, our personality? Any questions for Rob? I know it's a lot of really high level information here. Nothing?
You asked earlier, Rob, how many people actually put their hand up as far as actually running the DISC evaluation on them?
I think it's about half and half. About half and half. You know, but Jessica asked a great question too. You should do it more than once. Definitely do it more than once. Yeah,
like
but most of us don't.
Beginning of the week, end of the week. Beginning of the week,
yeah.
end of the week. You're gonna get
somebody said before or after PowerCon. Yes, yeah, do that one. Or during PowerCon, because Charles, your eye's going to come out during, but after, you know, but once you get back to your room, you're like, oh.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, good stuff. So I mean, where obviously you have the disc and all that stuff that's kind of tied up in your Rockstar agent. I mean, is that how does somebody access that? I mean, what's the story with that?
We used to have it open for individual agents, and we closed it off a while ago to do that. You know, I'm hoping that there's other stuff coming up in the future, but you know, we'll see what happens with that. But if anybody would like to get in there and use it, just send me an email.
Awesome.
Yeah. You want to drop your email in there in the chat box?
You got it. I'll do that.
Yeah. I 100% agree, by the way, with your, you know, strategy of, you know, like you said, the word is mirroring the personality. I find that to be extremely important. You can't be super excited and then talk to someone who's super subdued. It just doesn't work. All you're doing is just stressing them out, and vice versa, right? So you do need to understand who you're talking to. And again, the word mirroring is a very important part of it. Sometimes you speed up, sometimes you slow down, sometimes you use certain words, sometimes you don't use that, right? Sometimes you're bouncing off the wall, sometimes you just stay put and sit down and just, you know, cross your leg and just have a chat. So that is a really important strategy. You know, Charles would be in a D. No surprise. If there was actually something above the D, you know, I can probably put it in place there as well for sure. I think most of the people I think we're going to find is somewhere, it's really a mixture of everything, but really somewhere right in the middle of that. Most people are not an extreme D, and most people are not an extreme I, mainly because, frankly, if you are an extreme I, you're probably not in this business. I can see a lot of extreme Ds in this business, Charles being one of them for sure. But the majority is somewhere going to be right in the smack dab, right in the middle. And really, in reality, it's a combination of both. I ran the DISC evaluation test on myself when I was at the previous company, and of course, no surprise, I'm also a D and an I, but I'm also a little full spectrum as well. And that's really important to figure out who you are and your personality, because sometimes you don't think about that, and then you just kind of run right into the conversation. And before you realize it, maybe you're over dominating the conversation. Maybe you're just way too laid back and they don't feel like you're the right person with the right level of confidence to guide them. So it is important that you understand that. And the word mirroring, again, is such a critical component of it. Before you can even say, hey, let me open the door for you, you got to make sure that they actually want you to even open that door for them. And so that's really important. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah. And that's, Jay, that's a fantastic point. We all have all of them in us. It's that we have dominant pieces of them that come out. And the way that we succeed in this world is to be able to adapt. Because your buyers and sellers are not the same. The people that you're chatting with are not the same. 75 to 80% are not like you, but you still want them to like you. The only way to do that is to like them and be like them as much as you can.
So one thing that I've learned, Rob, in all the years I've been in this business, people don't want to work with you unless they actually like you at some level. It's not that complicated.
Is that how that works? Yeah, it's true, right? I mean, it's amazing to see that, and that's where we bump heads. And the perfect example is with our kids. For everybody that has a kid, how many times have you gotten into an argument with your kids? And why? And look at why. Or your spouse, by the way.
Well, on that topic, I've learned a long time ago that my wife is always right. So 23 years of marriage
she told me
100% confirmed that is the case at this point.
Yeah, mine will tell you that too. She's right. Yes, dear.
Well, one of the biggest things I think I took away from this conversation, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff. I think the personality and kind of aligning with our different prospecting activities. But one of the things that I really took away from this that I think it would do us all well to lean into is before we shotgun approach this thing, let's find that thing that really aligns with you, your cores, your values, what your strengths are, and lean into that. Let's give it time to work. I mean, I think, there's a million different ways to generate business out there. And there's 999,000 that I don't want to do, but there's that one. And I think we all need to figure out what that one is, because we can be, the jack of all trades, or we can be a specialist. And I think we can really lean into that thing. And I love you. I've never heard it quantified like that. One lead source for every 10 million in production. Who's looking for that $10 million year, right? That's going to be that's a banger year right there, right? So what if one lead source you could put all your energy, all your mojo into, or at least the predominant amount of it, right? Maybe it's never 100%, but a heavy amount. Imagine that one thing done really well, executed to its fullest, $10 million. I think that's worth a shot right there. I mean, it sounds like it makes sense, right? It does make sense.
Isn't there an award for that? Isn't there something?
I think it starts with a P. Power award, guys. 24 units or $10 million. I think that's worth chasing right there. There's the path.
Yeah, that is the path. I mean, it's instead of spending all these money on different stuff and chasing butterflies and squirrels, focus, become that Olympic specialist.
I do like a squirrel.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I will chase a squirrel. No.
Yeah, I know. We all will, right? But man, if Olympic habits will lead to Olympic results.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, any last questions? Anybody want to on mic ask a question to Rob, or he's been thorough, and we'll move on with our day. Any questions for him? All right.
Like questions, y'all come out. All right.
Well, awesome. Well, Rob, I would like to hold you to sharing that list of prospecting ideas with us. That would be really nice to be able to kind of share out there. And I love it. I think everybody, let's dig deep into one or two things, and let's figure out what our personality looks like. Let's get that DISC test done and align our personality with our activity. That sounds like it just makes sense. All right, guys.
It's like logical,
right? Well, Jade, you got any parting words for us as we tune out for the day?
I'm just afraid to reevaluate myself and run on this test, and I've realized that nobody likes me.
Everybody likes you.
Well, yes, Rob, thank you, my friend, for coming on board. Good stuff.
My pleasure. Really my pleasure.
As Charles, I want to echo that as well. If you can get us that document with the DISC test, breaking down the different things that we should probably focus on as far as lead generation, I would love that. I'm thinking about, I've never heard anybody or seen anyone put something like that out, and I think it is such a good idea. So we would love to get that to the rest of the group here. Thank you so much, Rob, for coming on board.
My pleasure. Thank you,
All
guys.
right,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks for everybody for tuning in, and we will see you all again next Friday for another Epique Circle. Hope y'all have a great weekend, and we will see you on the other side.